Hello everyone, and welcome to a 48-hour reading vlog. So it is currently Saturday afternoon. I did not have enough time to start this vlog in the morning, but I did want to give myself 48 hours to do a reading vlog. So I think we're going to be starting now and then going maybe until Monday morning sometime if I do need a full 48 hours. But what I have going on today is I'm going to be reading 3 books picked for me basically by Kristina from nw.reader. I don't think she actually knows that I'm doing this, so hi Kristina, I'm reading the books that you picked for me, but the main reason I'm doing this is because she actually did send me books in the mail from her own private collection for me to read. We don't even live in the same state or anything, but she is such a good friend that she literally sent me books to borrow. And these are all going to be self-published or indie published horror books. The main reason I have these is because I was talking to her about one of the books, which is actually going to be this one here, Sabbath of the Fox Devils by Sam Richard. She was reading this one day and I saw it, I think, on her Instagram story and like absolutely fell in love with this cover. Like, it is so intriguing to me. I absolutely love like the art style, the design, the colors, everything about it. And she sent me like a picture of the dedication, which is one of the best dedications. Like, I absolutely was like, I am super intrigued by the book first of all, but the dedication is what really pulled me into it. And so we were talking about this book, and I think I mentioned it in a different video around that time, saying that this is an indie published book or a self-published book that I really did want to read, and she gave this book 4 out of 5 stars. But she does know that some of the indie horror she reads is not necessarily for everyone, so she decided to let me borrow her copy of the book, being the amazing person that she is, so that I could try this out without spending too much of my money. I was going to buy an ebook copy. If I do like this, I'm going to definitely have to get a physical copy because, like, I mean, again, cover, gorgeous. I don't know too much about this except for it is supposed to be a sort of like 80s horror, monster horror, satanic panic kind of thing. I'm very intrigued by it though. And then because she was shipping me a book anyway, she did include 2 other ones that I know for a fact these are both 5-star reads for her. So I'm very intrigued. She absolutely loves them and thought that I might enjoy them as well. The first one we have here is Teenage Grave. Again, another cover that is absolutely like just amazing. Like, look at this. It looks like an old book. It is all part of it, and so like even here it has like a sticker like printed on the book. So cool. But so this one is very short, only like 70 pages, and it's going to have 4 short stories in here. I was just looking at it actually, and there is a short story in here from Sam Richard. So I feel like that's part of the reason that she included this in here. I think she read this one first for the short stories and then eventually continued on to Sabbath of the Fox Devils. So that's why we have both of these. But the other authors in this collection are Joe Quinnell, Brandon Vedito, and Justin Lutz. So I don't know much about this except for it is 4 short stories, very short collection, but I'm expecting, you know, horror. And then the final one we have here is another anthology, but this is by one author, and it is going to be Monstrosity by Laura Diaz de Arce, and this one is bigger. However, all of these books are under 300 pages, like for each one. But this is an anthology written by one author, and I believe it is supposed to be more like feminist driven. I don't actually know anything about this one besides I've seen the cover on Kristina's Instagram and stuff like that. And yeah, I'm very intrigued because again, she gave this one 5 out of 5 stars, absolutely loves it. And so we have 3 books that are all under 300 pages that I'm going to be reading for the next 48 hours. I do think I'm gonna start with Sabbath of the Fox Devils because of the fact that this is the one that like I was very intrigued about and wanted in the first place to read, and then we'll continue on with the other bonus books that she included for us. Kristina, in case you guys do not know, is nw.reader on YouTube and Instagram and that kind of stuff. I will leave all of her socials and links down below, but she is, one, an amazing person, great friend, great mom, but also really delves into self-published horror stuff, and I don't see that like nearly anywhere else on YouTube, at least for the people that I follow. And so she definitely deserves all of the love, all of the subscribers, especially if you like horror stuff. Like, that is like her main genre of focus. And so yeah, 3 self-published and indie horror books that we were going to try out. I'm very excited. I haven't actually read a horror in a while. I don't think, like a straight up horror. And I think I'm talking a little bit too much for an introduction to a vlog. And these are books that I did not specify on my like 13 book TBR earlier this month either. I'm just sort of fitting them in. So this could be a good or bad thing. But yeah, I'm gonna stop rambling and I will see you guys later. Okay, so it is currently Sunday afternoon. I have not read anything besides a manga that I read last night. I just got a little bit too busy with things this weekend, and I was also very, very tired yesterday. So even though I did my introduction yesterday, I'm gonna start reading Sabbath of the Fox Devils now, and we're gonna count my 48 hours from now. So it actually is almost 1:30 on Sunday. So if needed, I will go through Monday into the beginning of Tuesday instead of Saturday and Sunday. This was originally supposed to be a weekend reading vlog, but I knew I was getting a late start, so I said 48-hour reading vlog, and I'm glad I did because I did not do any reading yesterday. So I'm planning on getting some reading done now. Presley had an early nap today, so I actually don't know if he's going to go down for another nap. We will see, but I'm going to be starting this book no matter what right now. I'm going to go sit down, read this book, and I will talk to you guys later. But yeah, I did not read anything yesterday, so starting now. Okay, I'm back. I have been reading for 10 minutes. And I feel like we need to have a little discussion on this book so far. So our main character is supposed to be a 12-year-old boy. It is not written in first person, it is written in third person. However, I am having a hard time with the way this is written. First of all, the voice of it is nowhere near a 12-year-old, but we're basically from his point of view, but in third person. And the adjectives are way too frequent, and some of the words are things that I would not expect any 12-year-old to know. And so we are currently at the point where he's not allowed to watch TV or things like that because his parents are very, very religious, very Christian, and are basically panicking about stuff because apparently his older brother moved out and potentially got into drugs, and they think the TV is what caused it. Well, his parents go to a Bible study meeting thing and he is left home alone, and he decides to watch a TV show called The Creepies, which has an episode called Sabbath of the Fox Devils, which is the title of this book. And I'm very much struggling with the way that this is written more than anything else. Like I said, I've only been reading for about 10 minutes. I'm like 20-ish pages maybe into the book. And so it's very much a like writing style, editing style, or not as much editing as it should have been type of thing. I've had a couple phrases. I'm gonna put you guys down here so we can talk. There's been a couple phrases that appeared like in a row, which I'm just like, did we really need to do that? But so like there is, it's almost like the Scooby Gang from Scooby-Doo in this book, but creepier apparently. And at one point they pick up a book and it says, "It creaks open of its own accord and his face ripples with fear. Of its own accord, the book gently lifts from Skip's shaking hands floating several inches above his face." So in 2 sentences, we have the exact same phrase used. And I'm just like, okay. But the way the author is describing certain things in this, they're references that I don't know, and I don't feel like a lot of people know. They're not common. So like when he's trying to explain who some of the like people in the book look like, one of the people is a family-friendly cartoon rendition of a junkie, but it says, "Rumor is he's based off William S. Burroughs if he had been 20 during the first wave of 70s punk." I don't understand that whatsoever. And then there's another guy who apparently looks like a punk rock Solomon Grundy. Again, I don't know who that is. So like some of the references in here are not doing it for me. But then also I feel like not even just references, maybe the author is a little bit too smart for me or for what is being written down, because on a different part they're again explaining things that are in the book. And it says, on the second page of the spread, a large demonic fox face is shown surrounded by archaic lettering that follows the shape of its face. Above the head sits a sideways 8, and a cross with 2 bars juts up from the point of the intersection. The alchemical symbol for sulfur, what is also known as the Leviathan cross. Like, you could have explained how things are in the book without being like, oh, by the way, it's the alchemical symbol for sulfur, or just assuming that we know stuff. And like, this is the 12-year-old that we're seeing it through, even though it is third person and he's watching the TV, but I don't feel like the 12-year-old would be telling us this kind of thing. Or here, when apparently a voice harsh and crushing comes from Skip's unwilling lips. The indecipherable blend of Latin, English, Aramaic, and Tamil spews forth. How would, my cat's sneezing in the background, but how would a 12-year-old, do you have allergies? Wouldn't it be funny if a cat was like allergic to cats? Like, but like, how would a 12-year-old know that the indecipherable blend of words coming from a cartoon character's mouth is a blend of English, Latin, Aramaic, and Tamil? Like, how, like, I don't understand how this is in the description. Like, make it so your 12-year-old understands you. Make it so myself as a 31-year-old understands you. I decided to complain about this to the camera because I complained about it to my husband and he's like, dump the book. He's telling me DNF it already. It's like 20 pages. I'm gonna try and read more because I've only been reading for 10 minutes. I'm hoping it picks up once we get past this like TV show part, but I don't understand why we have made some of the choices we have made. Are you ready to eat dinner? Eat. And you got your chopsticks? Okay, so in case you can't tell, I have had a shower. It's the next day. I have finished this. I read about 66 or 67 pages yesterday afternoon, and then I just had to take a break. It was not really doing it for me at that moment. I just really needed to like stop, take a break. We did end up having dinner, which you guys saw. We had hot pot, which is amazing, but in Arizona in the summertime, a little bit juxtaposed, but you know what I mean. And then I did finish this last night. I had like only an hour left of this, according to my Bookly app, when I got in bed. And yeah, it took me a little less than an hour to finish. I gave it a 3 stars. It's not horrible, but there are definite issues for me with this. The main part is the like SAT language that got put in here. Our main character is 12 and his parents are very like religious Christian fanatics. He is not allowed to watch like basically any TV. He's not allowed to read a lot of books, and he is sort of a loner. So like there's no way he knows these SAT words. He's not getting them in class. He's not getting them in normal society. He's not getting them through media or anything like that. And so there's a lot of vocabulary in here that as a 12-year-old, I do not believe. I don't think it needed to be in here. I think the voice of this was off. Also, we have an issue thing with his brother, which jump-started his parents' like zealotry, and we never get that resolved. Like I was really hoping for some sort of why. And we don't actually get that. And this does pick up its pace about halfway through, maybe a little bit more than that. And we definitely get a lot of gore. However, I felt it was very clinical. There were a couple phrases in here, like one of them was that something was happening to our main character and he had to rotate something on its axis. And while this is happening, like, there's blood and stuff places, but because of the way that it was described, it just felt very removed from the situation. There was also a part where like blood splatters in a radius around a guy's head. First of all, that's probably not the right word, radius, but like all I could think about was like math and science. Like I wasn't really getting horror from this. But again, like I said, 3 stars because it's not necessarily bad. it's just not what I thought. Because like on the back it says it's part homage to the small creature horror films of the 80s, like Ghoulies, Gremlins, and The Gate. I've only seen Gremlins, but Gremlins had a lot more creatures in it than this one did. And then part splatterpunk take on a Goosebumps book. Again, I don't think this is really Goosebumpsy. I love Goosebumps. I grew up on Goosebumps, and I was wishing for more of the creep factor. Like, I really didn't get it. The best part was probably the gore and the splatterpunk stuff, but at the same time, it was very, very clinical, and I was very removed from it. And then, like I said, I wish we had some resolution for Joe's brother, because of the fact that for this being such a short book, his brother leaving and going away like 5 years ago when he was 7 was very, like, a big part of this book. Like, I really felt like we were going to get some sort of revelation about why he left, or, you know, that kind of thing. Why his parents turned super, super, like, Christian, he can't do anything, because they weren't like that before, but we didn't get that. So yeah, today is Monday, but like I said, I started my 48 hours technically yesterday. Today's actually Labor Day as well, so my husband doesn't have to work. We're just gonna sort of chill out at home. And my next read is going to be Teenage Grave. This is a very, very short one. It is 70 pages, 4 short stories total. Sam Richard, the author of the last book I just read, does have a short story in here as well. So I'm wondering if maybe a shorter medium would work better for me. But I actually don't know anything about the short stories in here. I'm gonna go in completely blind. I might not come back after every single short story to talk to you guys. Maybe I'll do like 2 and 2, because I do feel like since it is a short story collection from different authors, I need to sort of discuss it a little bit separately. Whereas the next book I will read after this, Monstrosity, is a short story collection from one author. So I might talk about that a little bit more, like less broken up, more as a whole. Okay, so I know I said I wasn't gonna come back after every story, but I am. I finished the first story in this book. This is called Stale Air by Joe Quinnell. And if I was just rating this one story, 5 stars. Absolutely loved it. Some of it is grotesque, some of it is like family, domestic type of horror, thriller type of stuff. There's also a mystery aspect here, and even though it is a very, very short story, I absolutely loved it. Like, it's only 26 or 27 pages, I think, if this book starts on page 1, which I know they never do. The first story starts on like page 5 and then goes to page 26, I think. So like a 21-page story. I actually would also love to read more in this world. The imagery that the author portrayed was just really, really good. And like I said, parts of it are very, very gruesome. Like, I was just like, ugh. But great. It was great. So I'm gonna stop here for now. We're gonna go to the grocery store, get some groceries, and then I will read more when I come back. Okay. I have now finished the second story in here, which is by Sam Richard, the same author as the Sabbath of the Fox Devils, and the short story in this one has a long-ass title. It's called I Know Not the Names of the Gods to Whom I Pray. If I was going to rate this one, 1 star. I really do not understand this one. I don't understand the concept at all. It definitely felt torture porn. Like, literally, they talk a little bit about like vagina, penis, private parts, and then it's basically a guy and a woman apparently coming together multiple times to kill each other, and then they die and then they come back and they kill each other, and I feel like it had to have had a bigger meaning, but I do not understand it. And this also suffers from the author being way too technical. There's one part where they're like going to stab each other in the heart, but he's like specifying that they're stabbing each other in the aorta, and like he can feel the aorta on the end of his knife, and I'm just like, there's no way you'd be able to do that. There's a part where they like cut their throats. There's a part where they're cutting their legs at the femoral artery, and I was talking to my husband and I was like, you know what's sort of funny about this is, like, if you're gonna be cutting their throats, I'm surprised he didn't say carotid artery as well, because it's just way too technical. There's no way to do that. Like, the technicality brings me out of it, but also it was literally just torture porn. Some people like that. I want an actual point, at least some sort of point to the story, and I don't think I got anything from this one, which is disappointing. So I think maybe Sam Richards just not like the author for me. I do think the actual Sabbath of the Fox Devils was a little bit better because we did have some point to it. It didn't fully come together, but that was, you know, 3 stars compared to this short story being a 1. Okay, it is now after lunch, but I did want to let you know I finished the 3rd story in this, which is Apate's Children by Brendan Vedito, right before lunch. And this one I don't fully understand as well. I feel like I got a little bit more of it. It is very gruesome, and I feel like this one, because I didn't fully understand it, but I did like the writing style and I did like how gruesome it actually was, I would probably give it a 3 star. So far my favorite still is the first story in this collection. I have 1 more to go. Presley is currently napping now as well, so I'm gonna finish this up because I definitely want to move into Monstrosity as soon as possible, because I'm thinking I might actually finish it tonight. I just finished editing a video as well, which will go up tomorrow. So we'll see. But yeah, 1 story left in this collection. Let's get on that. Okay, it's been only a few minutes, but I finished the last story, which is called Start Today by Justin Lutz. I'm giving it 5 stars. It started off very weird and I didn't know where it was going, but it ultimately culminated in something that I think was a really interesting concept. Again, I would love to see more from that story, but it's one of those things that leaves you wanting more. So like the first and last book in this story collection, I think, were amazing. They were both ones that, even though they're short stories, it did what it needed to do, but it also left me like, I wish there was more. Like, I really wish it was more, but I don't wish it was more in the fact that I don't understand what was going on and I feel like it needed to be developed more. I think it was developed very, very well. And then the 2 middle stories, not as good. One of them, I feel like the author in general is just not for me. I've now tried 2 things, a book and a short story. I don't think I'm getting it very well. And then the other one was okay, but again, I don't understand. I feel like that would have needed to be longer, needed to be developed more. So for rating, I feel like I sort of need to like pull up a calculator so that I can average out. It's hard with short story collections, especially when they're like this by a different author. Let me just see. Okay, so averaging this out with the 4 different stories, it's a 3.5. I round up on Goodreads, so on Goodreads it will be a 4, but I do think that's a pretty accurate representation of this, a 3.5 or a 4 stars. 2 of them were done phenomenally in my opinion. So yeah, this is a very interesting little collection. I don't know why it's called Teenage Grave, because I don't feel like most of these, or any of them, were actually about teenagers, which is what I would have expected, but that's okay. But that also does mean the last book that we have for this vlog is going to be Monstrosity by Laura Diaz de Arce. I do know that this is supposed to be another short story collection because Kristina left me little notes in the books to let me know about them. And so, yeah, I don't know anything else about it. This, I know for sure, is written by a woman. I don't actually know about the collection of short stories. Most of them, I believe, are guys, but I'm not sure if it's 100% guys. So yeah, we are going to now start with this because Presley is still napping, like I said. I do need to go check on my video that I edited to start it uploading for YouTube, so I might actually go check on that before I start this, but this is the next thing we're gonna do. I love the cover. I'm very curious to see what this is all about. Okay, so we're just about to have dinner, and I will definitely show you guys what that looks like, but I did want to say that I finished the first part of Monstrosity, which is labeled in Latin. So the first part is called, I'm probably gonna mispronounce this, hominum. The second part is mutatio and the third is Monstrum. So basically it's like humans changing, mutation stuff, and then monsters. And so there are 4 stories per part. They're short stories, obviously, and so I finished the first part, which is the hominum, or the human part. And so far, I really like the writing style. These are basically all looks into, like, humanity, but, like, specifically women. And I heard somewhere that this is a very, like, feminist type of horror, and I definitely think it is. They are all feeling like snapshots though as well. There wasn't necessarily a like beginning, middle, end to each story. However, they were very intriguing. I do want to say the first 3 are more horror, creepy, like unsettling, whereas the 4th one was not as much. That one was closer to an actual story. It was also written in what the author calls Spanglish, because she speaks English and Spanish, and so it was a mixture of both. And the last time I took Spanish was like over 10 years ago in college, and so I'm very rusty at it. I understood some of the Spanish without having to look anything up. Other parts I didn't, but you are able to follow the story without really knowing much about that, so it didn't detract from it whatsoever. But it was following a more uplifting, heartfelt story, in my opinion, compared to the first 3. Like I said, we're gonna have dinner, and then I will continue tonight with the next part, which is this here, Mutachia, I don't know how to pronounce it, but like the middle part. So yeah, that will be the next thing we do. Are we gonna go eat? Are you hungry? Let's go have dinner. Yeah. Enchilada. Okay, so it is the next morning, and I have finished the second part of Monstrosity, which is the one that was about mutation or change, that kind of thing. Again, there were 4 stories in it, and so I'm now up to like page 107 or something like that, and still actually really enjoying this book. I think I liked these types of stories a bit better than the first section, mostly because that first section was based on humanity, and while some of it was still unsettling and that kind of thing, it felt more like snapshots for most of those stories. These ones actually felt like stories. There also were a couple of sci-fi stories in there. There was also some that felt more fantasy than reality, that kind of stuff, but I was a little bit surprised by the sci-fi. Like, I wasn't expecting sci-fi type stuff in here. It is leaning a little bit more towards sci-fi horror. Like, there is still some horror stuff in here. I don't think it is nearly as gruesome as some of the previous books that we've read this week, but they do have this, like, the feeling of being unsettled. Like, I do feel anxious sometimes when reading them. Like, I love how I'm feeling that way compared to some of the other stories. So even though it's not like horror, they're still really good, and I'm very curious to see about the last part that we have left, which is the monstrum part, like the monster part. And that's going to take me maybe an hour to finish according to my Bookly app. Like, I should be done within the hour. And so yeah, I'm going to get on that so we can finish this within the 48 hours, and I will come back to you to let you know what I think. Okay, and just like that, I have now officially finished Monstrosity as well. While I was reading this, Presley had some Baby Shark pink fong stuff on the TV, and I had to pause it to talk to you guys, so he's a little bit like, why'd we stop? But we're gonna have to stop soon anyway. But I have officially finished this. So the last part that I was reading was the monstrum part, so it was more about monsters and things like that, and let me tell you, this book got better and better as it went. I think the human part was good, and like I said, the feelings that it evoked were really good, like what I think it was trying to do. However, I definitely liked later stories better, the ones that had transformations and changes and monsters. And so some of the stories that I liked the best, so actually in the second part, I really did like the Swamp King and Plum Moon. And then in the Monstrum part, I actually really liked Mandibles, the West Hamberline Bordello opens at 5, and hardcover, softcover. So like 3 out of 4 of the last part were like amazing. Again, I wish I would get more from the stories in this world. We also had one that was, again, like a sci-fi more than a fantasy or a horror. And again, some of these definitely have horror elements. There were at least 2 stories, I believe, in here that had some sort of sexual assault bordering into rape. So definitely keep that in mind. But overall, I really, really enjoyed this one. It is my favorite out of the ones that I have read in the past 48 hours. Like, I think I'm gonna give this a full 5 stars, because even the stories that I didn't like as much, like, not that I didn't like as much, that aren't my favorite, were still like good, solid 3 or even 4-star stories. But most of them I really, really enjoyed. So overall, this experience was very interesting. Thank you again to Kristina for sending me these books to borrow. I will send them back, I promise. But the book that I was originally interested in, I gave 3 stars. I did not have the other 2 books, Teenage Grave or Monstrosity, as want to read on Goodreads because of the fact that they are short story collections, anthologies. Those are usually not my jam. And so the fact that she decided to send these to me because she loves them, like these 2 books, she gave 5 out of 5 stars. And I fully see it. Like, I gave Teenage Grave 4 stars. I'm giving this one 5 stars. Like, phenomenal. I'm actually very curious about some of the authors from both of these collections. Multiple authors in that one author in this one. If they have any longer books. Because the stories that I actually loved, I would want to see a longer selection of something, a bigger book, a longer book, something that really has a lot of depth to it, because even these short stories had a lot of depth. So yeah, I think overall a very interesting reading time. I'm glad that I tried this out, because again, I would probably have not picked up these short story collections by myself, but I really, really enjoyed them. And if you are looking for indie horror stuff, definitely check these out, but also go check Kristina out, because she reads a lot of indie horror books, self-published horror books, and she has great recommendations. Definitely go check her out. Again, thank you, Kristina, for sending me these. And that will be it for this vlog. I have videos up Tuesdays and Thursdays, so I will see you in my next video.